over to Laura to begin the presentation. Laura, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mark. It's a real pleasure to be here. I'm very excited to be here with Edgar. I had the privilege of working together along with other executives at Molimet to really launch the lean transformation of the company and the journey in January 2019. And we're going to tell you a little bit about that story, how Molimet embraced the Hoshin Kanri process to connect strategy with execution, top down, while at the same time building up problem-solving capability from the bottom up. Throughout the journey, the company faced important challenges. The social unrest that swept through Latin America also affected Chile in 2019. The Chilean social crisis started in October 2019, and then, of course, the global pandemic, which unleashed in January 2020. We will explore how Molimet benefited from the Hoshin Kanri process to build organizational resilience. So welcome, Edgar, to kick things off.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you for inviting me to this session. We will start talking about a little about Molimet. So Molimet is the main processor of molybdenum and rhenium. We buy both as concentrates, and we are the leader in the world. We have approximately 35% of the processing capacity in molybdenum and 70% in rhenium. This is a Chilean company. We have facilities in 4 countries, here in Chile, also in Mexico, Belgium, and in Germany. And our business is related to the special steels alloys. So what we do is to transform the molybdenum concentrate and the rhenium concentrates into oxide and other products with more value added. We are a company which is investment grade, so we have an important base in terms of bondholders, banks, and also shareholders. And this is a company which sells approximately in a year between 1 billion and 1 and 1.5 billion. This, I would say, that are the more important thing for us, Molimet, and we have a story to tell you in this presentation. So Laura, let's go with the next slide, please. So there is. Our story began in the 80s when we started this business, and over the time and up to 2018, we can say that we have a very successful business. We became the leader in the market. We increased the volume sales by 10 times. Also, the market value of this company by 10 times. And we are a very important company for the stainless steel business or stainless steel industry. But in 2018, we realized that we needed to make a big change. And not only in the way we operate or in the way we do business, but in the way we see how our strategy was built. And our focus in the last 5 years before 2018 was focused on short-term results. We realized that we work in silos, and that this was an industrial company with that, and we undertake all of our visions as the traditional way. We were a company of the 90s or maybe early 2000. So we decided to make a change, and we started with the commitment of our CEO on a transformation. The idea here was to adopt a new way to do the things. And for that, we had a conversation with Laura, and we started the adoption of Lean, the Lean adoption. And we, for that, we decided to define 6 strategic priorities. And here you can see that we have the core business, our traditional business, which is the molybdenum and the rhenium. The excellence, this is the way how we operate our plants. The growth and development, this is how we conceive the future, and if we wanted to be in this business, in other business, if we think in diversifications or other. Sustainability, which was not related only to environmental things, this was also related to how to survive in the market in the best way, and also was related to circular economy and all of the things which are related with that. The people mainly focus on talent and the innovation, because we produce molybdenum products and rhenium products, but we sometimes the market is not enough to sell our products. So our view in this transformation was first the sustainability of this business in the long term, then the operational excellence, and finally the product in innovation. And what was the purpose of our Lean transformation? And here what we see is that the enterprise transformation is the process of an organization shifting its business model to a desired state. The important here in this point was to decide which was the desired state, especially when you are already said that you are working in a silos company. The Lean transformation requires learning a new way of thinking and acting. And here the important point is the culture that you have in your company, and realize if this culture is what the desired state, or which kind of culture do you want to have. And this is characterized not by implementing a series of steps or solutions, but addressing key questions of purpose, process, and people. So again, the culture, the way we do the thing, the way we solve the problems, and the scope, if it is the short or the long term. Laura?
Thank you, Edgar. Well, a lot of you come from the Lean community, so I'm sure you'd be familiar with the Lean transformation framework that Lean Enterprise Institute has developed. This is really distilling decades of experience in applying lean thinking and practice in many different sectors. And of course, this became sort of our guiding principles and the key questions that we continuously asked ourselves through this journey. The beauty of this framework is really that it's applicable at all levels of the organization. At the strategic executive level, we ask these questions during the Hoshin Kanri process. And at the bottom-up operational, more tactical level, we also ask these questions to reflect on, of course, the same things, but with a different level of granularity. So this really became our guiding framework throughout the transformation. It always starts with the purpose, asking about what is the process we wish to improve in solving that problem. Do we have the capability inside the organization? Do we have the management system and the leadership behaviors that we need to develop? And of course, reflecting on the basic thinking, the mindset, and the underlying assumptions that drive everything we do. So the lean strategy deployment at Molymet really started from a very strong foundation. The company had, of course, a strategic agenda that had been developed in previous years and continuously updated. And this became sort of the starting point. But then going back to these 6 strategic priorities that Edgar already explained, as well as the purpose and the true north of the company, the executive leadership team comprising the CEO and direct reports, all the vice presidents, as well as a number of key managers in the lower ranks, came together to look at the strategic agenda that was already in place, as well as the challenges that were already identified, and first began to rationalize those challenges, to bring them into focus, to make sure they were stated at the right level. This was really the first step in the Hoshin process. And then building consensus horizontally. This took quite a bit of effort from multidisciplinary teams at the executive level to get everybody on the same page, have a common understanding, which then was further refined and developed through strategy A3s. We'll take you through these steps in more detail, Edgar and I, but the strategy A3s really was a very important moment where through multidisciplinary teams at the executive level, the problem we wish to solve and understanding current state, desired future state, and et cetera, became much sharper for the team. Further to that, in the operation area, that's Edgar's area of responsibility, we did functional deployment. And that functional deployment meant also a strong connection with the model line in operation, but also an opportunity to go back to the corporate Hoshin and verify and vertically align again with input from the lower levels of the organization in the operational level. And all this connected with bottom-up problem solving happening in operations at the same time through operational A3s. So solving problems at different levels of the organization, but with a clear line of sight and continuous communication through the Hoshin Kanri process. Back to you, Edgar.
Thank you, Laura. And as Laura already mentioned, we have here two ways to see this. The first one is the top down, and the second one, the bottom up. And the idea here was to connect both. And how we did it? If we go to the top down, and what you have here on your screen is our corporate Hoshin. And what we did was to assign a vice president per column, per challenge. And here we will see an example. The challenge 2.1, which I personally lead, which I am leading this now. So, and the challenge 2.1 was to ensure the availability of products when the client needs them. And it is important to mention here that even though that one vice president, in this case, the operations vice president lead this, the group which was working on that was a multidisciplinary team. Here I had, for example, the commercial vice president, also the legal vice president, and other members from the operational area. And the first challenge here was to realize if what we had was what we had originally in our strategic agenda makes sense for all of us. We created consensus, and finally we reduced the number of challenges and also the number of activities. So here, the first point, the challenge is we answered the what, the why, and we were very clear in terms of the goals we wanted to achieve. Then, always thinking in a strategic way, we list the activities. So how we will get what we wanted to do. And here was to ensure the availability, and here is an example. And the first activity is to ensure the operational continuity of the production processes. And this was really important because if we wanted to ensure the availability, we need to have the plants who can give us the reliability in order to produce. And the target, of course, was related to the OEE. And here we were very clear, and we said we wanted over than 85% in 2020. And also we add a new restriction here in terms of quality, which is really important because the reprocess of our products is really, really expensive. So here are all of the work that we did, but what is important here that after we completed this with our team, we validated this challenge with all of the other vice president, and we agreed that this was a real challenge. And the most important thing for all of you which are familiar with the Lean is that if we were solving a problem in the right level. Laura.
Yes.
Then with having the challenge, we developed this in a A3. I suppose that all of you are familiar, but here we describe the problem to be solved, why the problem is important to be solved, the impact in our business. Also, which was not really easy to do, is what was the current situation of the problem. The current situation was difficult to solve because sometimes we didn't have the data which was required to answer the challenge. And then which was most important is which was our future desired state, the root cause of our current state, and what actions we need to take care of in order to eliminate all of the problem which we have in order to reach the desired future state. And also at the right, suppose that it's the right in your screen, we were measuring our progress with all of the activities we should take care.
So at the same time as the operational teams were developing problem-solving capability using the A3 process, so were the executive teams in a multidisciplinary approach also building capability for problem-solving using the A3 process. How was that for yourself and your peers at the executive level?
This is, Laura, this is a different way to do the things. And this is a matter of culture. So it was not easier because in this kind of companies, the mining and metal companies, Sometimes the executive has been here for more than 5, 10, 15, or 20 years. So change the way to do the things. Work in multidisciplinary teams to try to break the silos and realize or say to someone that maybe he's not doing the proper things in order to follow the strategy that which we are now implementing is difficult. So at the end, it takes to us a lot of time, but this is a continuous process. We haven't finished. Every time we have a change in the executive team, every time we have a crisis like the crisis we are having now, or every time we have a problem in the market or a new product, we need to review again this and be very constant in this process.
Thank you, Edgar. So once the corporate Hoshin was developed, then we proceeded to functional deployment. In your area, in operations, where also at the same time, we were building capability bottom up in the model line. So what this picture shows, really, it's the deployment across sort of going now deep into the model line. And what happens here is a very, very key moment where we're making a direct connection between the strategy that the executive team crafted together and the execution in the lower levels of the organization. And at the same time, very crucial to support in this process is sort of like a backbone of two-way communication, where your daily management routine allows for information to flow up, while at the same time, the strategy deployment conversation allows for support to flow down. In my experience, this connection of Hoshin Kanri between strategy and execution, supported by a double communication channel of daily management and strategy deployment, really strengthens the overall process, the lean transformation, and supports people at all levels of the organization to continue on their journey. So Edgar, can you take us a little bit through your functional deployment in operations, please?
Of course.
Just before we go there, to summarize then, from True North to Corporate Hoshin, 6 strategies: core business, excellence, growth and development, sustainability, people, and innovation. Each one of those led by a vice president, distilled in a strategy A3 through cross-functional multidisciplinary team. And then we go into functional deployment in operations.
So that was, Laura, the top down. And now what we need, what we should link, what it's needed is to link this with the bottom up. And also what we did here was to build the functional Hoshin operations. And here what we did is to build this with the operational management team, but also with a lot of operators, maintenance people, and blue collars, and people who were working in the floor of our operations. If we can we continue, Laura? Next.
Yep.
And here what we have, what you have on your screen, is we have first the strategic column. This is in Spanish, but I will try to translate the strategic column here. And this means that we will start the functional from the strategy. And then we here we have the challenge, the goal, and then what we have here are the activities that our people, our operators, our maintenance people should take care. and the activities are the countermeasures defining the action plan of the strategy A3, and then we have the different tasks, and this is really important because it's what you need in order to surpass, or in order to fix what is wrong, given your A3. And we also have here who will be in charge of this, the leader, and if he needs or not support. And we realized that the time was fundamental, and here you can see the month and when he needed to finish the different tasks. If we continue with it here, I would like to mention something related our people, our staff. One of our biggest concern when we started the functional was the relationship with the unions. The unions are fundamental in our industry, in our business, and for Monument. But here the problem was that we were given to them more things to do, activities, and many other things, and there was the possibility to have a lot of problems with them. And we needed to be clear in order to explain what was we doing, what wanted we to obtain, and if it was helpful for them. To be honest, not easy, but at the end, they realized that they should be part of this, because they were obtaining, or they felt that they were part of a new company which was solving problems in the long term, and this was affected in a good way the day that they were experiencing. If we continue with this slide, here what you have is an example of the strategy number 2, and here you have the same we had at the beginning of this presentation. From the top down is to ensure the availability of our products, and here you will see what we finally obtained. The goals, the activities, the task, and here the time framework with all of the leaders. At the end, I have to say that it is a good experience, because now we are, of course, after 2 years, we continue with this plan with the Hoshin Kanri and also the functional. We are expanding this to other companies in the group, and we have obtained very good results. And I would like to comment some of them. If we can go to the other, Lauren. After we started to adopt the lean philosophy, we were hit, as we mentioned at the beginning, by a social crisis, then by the pandemic. We are still in this crisis, and given all of the measures we implemented, and also due to all of the multidisciplinary work we did. In 2020, we closed the year with the highest production in the last 5 years. This means a lot of things. No interruption in our plants, no accidents, reducing the accident, reducing the interruption in our plants, to reduce the impact of having less people in our plant due to COVID things. And I feel very proud because reaching the highest production in the last 5 years, of course, lean is part of this. And if you consider all of the challenges we had to face, the business continuity, we see that lean has an important impact in our business. We built a base for problem-solving culture, the lean philosophy adoptions. We have now a model line which is expanding to other companies in the group, other countries even. And something which is really important is that in 2020, we also reached the lowest cost in the last 5 years. Most of the decrease in cost was attributed to internal improvement initiatives, and most of these initiatives were implemented in 2019 and 20, given what we have been doing in the lean strategy and also in the lean functional. And now we are in a point where we have already decreased our production disruption in our plants. Also, we reduce the use of important material, and which is more important for me, who I am part of the operations, is that now our staff, our operators, they know perfect how their work is linked with the strategy of our company. Here in this slide, also we mentioned another benefits, which are first the horizontal alignment generated by in share vision at executive level. Now we think that we are a better team. The silos culture is difficult, but now we are in a better position. Also, what I have already mentioned, our operators know more about the strategy, and this makes sense to them, and this is in line with the purpose of our company. This is lean, so we had a important reduction in the number of corporate initiatives. This means that our strategic agenda or our Hoshin Kanri now is more focused on what is really important. Given that the teams were multidisciplinary, now we have a better engagement of all of the organizational levels and all of the different departments. And I would say that the lean transformation and having started this adoption in 2019 was the best moment in order to face the crisis we are living now. So lean is also helpful in crisis times. Laura.
Thank you, Edgar. I'll hand it back to Mark. I was told there's lots of questions. So back to you, Mark.
Thank you very much, Edgar and Laura. Yeah, a lot of great questions that have been asked. I've got to figure out, we have limited time to figure out how to ask them, but I know there's one that I wanted to ask. I'm going to start with a question from me, kind of a lead into everyone else. How did Hoshin Kanri help you build your organization's resilience? I'm asking both, kind of knowing Laura and Edgar both.
Edgar, you want to go first?
Thank you, Laura. Resilient. Well, in crisis, this is really important, not Mark? but when you take time to communicate up and down the organization, your purpose, why you are there, uh, uh, if what you are doing every day uh, makes sense to you. And then when you started the lean transformation, you are very clear saying why you need to change, why you need to do the thing in a different way. Um, and your staff understand that, then everyone feels that are part of the future of this company. You create a special commitment that which moved the people to the action, and then all of us understand how we can face a difficult period. And when you align the people, when the thing have sense, when you have purpose, and you do that in the right way, then this is really helpful for resilience. And which is the good way for us was the lean transformation, because here what we did was everything at a corporate level. We share a common vision between all of the executives. Then we have a common understanding about the future. We share this with our operators, with our people. We have approximately 2,000 people in the staff. And then we realized that all of the problems should be solved in the long term with the philosophy, and everyone was part of that. With all of this, the resilience is, you are in a better position to face crisis.
Okay, great. Thank you.
For me, I'll just add simply that in a time of crisis, we rely on our reflexes. And so what we've done here is develop that muscle, and the reflex respond to the threat is there now. Collaborative problem solving.
Okay, I'm going to turn it to some of the questions that our audience asked. There's a lot, but and I'll try to. There are a few questions that are similar, so I'll try to combine them. There's a lot of different dimensions that they're asking. So maybe first question, how was the decision made by the CEO or the board to switch to lean, operational excellence, and to these 6 strategies? What was the thinking process that was used to recommend this change?
So, Laura, to be honest, when we realized that we needed a change, we hired BCG in 2017, and this was part of the recommendation which was coming from BCG to adopt lean philosophy. And after, this is the first part, because then is to take the decision and be convinced about that, and also have the decision from the board. Given that we had this assessment was easier, and the CEO was really convinced, given all of the experience which we show them from other companies and industries.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna move on to another question. Is that okay, Laura?
All right. Go ahead.
This is another very good question that many people are interested in. I am very impressed by the speed of implementing Hoshin Kanri. What are the 3 top success factors for the rollout, and what are some 3 obstacles to achieve buy-in by your people? Very good question.
Maybe I'll start with that. In this particular case, I believe one of the critical success factors was indeed the support sponsorship of the CEO, as well as having people like Edgar to champion that within the company. So you know, to be very honest, it wasn't everybody up front being very enthusiastic about it. But slowly but surely, we got that done because of that commitment. Secondly, it requires time. It means that executives have to be committed to take the time to do the reflection, to look at the lean transformation framework and answer those questions with deep reflection. And so there's a commitment, an investment that needs to be made. And the third, I would say, is that investment at the executive level has to be translated with communication channels open with the lower levels in the organization to allow for that vertical alignment and that you know, continuous feedback that is necessary to make sure that there is a common understanding, that people know what they need to get done, and so their plans, their implementation plans or execution level plans are very clearly connected with higher level purpose. Purpose moves people to action. So I'll offer those as three critical success factors. Edgar, do you want to add something, or maybe on the barriers?
Yes, well, for me, the commitment of the CEO is critical. If you imagine trying to do this just in one area of your company, and then realize that you are not part of the strategy of the company, it's going to be really complicated. So the commitment of the CEO and how he motivated the executive team was fundamental. And also, I have to say that we find we find or we had a kind of not very good reaction from the executive, which were working for the company for more than 20 years, which means that the change management was fundamental here. And we did a program in terms of change management, trying to help our people, and the role modeling also was really important. This is Laura.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to pause for a moment here before I introduce the next question. I missed an important thing. I just want to remind people that you know, you can visit lean.org to access this webinar. Some people have asked in the chat, will they have availability of that? Please do that. You're welcome to download the presentation. And you could also take advantage of a lot of other like learning resources. Laura, for example, wrote 2 very good articles recently about lean, in Hoshin Kanri. And speaking of that, Laura is also leading a Hoshin Kanri class, Hoshin Kanri remotely, aligning and executing on your organizational objectives starting on February 26th. So please join us. That's a 9-week learning experience where you can like develop capabilities in Hoshin Kanri. Just maybe a final note, you know, we also offer as LEI, I mean, a lot of the work that Laura has done, and Laura's worked a lot with LEI, but we also offer a co-learning partnership program that helps partners. It's a select group of about 15 companies when we help them support them on their lean journeys. So excuse me a moment there for a little bit of marketing work. Let me move to another question. It's a good question, relates to targets, guys, a very specific one. I think it's a great question. What level of confidence are you using for the targets? That is, how much is an aspirational challenge versus more of like a hard promise? I guess that's a question for Edgar mainly.
Yes. When we look at the different columns, there was some, for example, core business, sustainability, or others, where the targets were really well defined, and you have there a figure, a number, or something you know that you could reach. But when you see the column of growth and development, this sometimes, given that you should challenge the people, are more inspirational or something have a different view. So it depends on uh, what you wanted to do. At that time, we wanted, and today, we wanted to growth in our business, to develop our business. This is our main challenge, and there was the different kind of target we set.
Great. So here's another question. Great question. To what extent is the corporate Hoshin, and the question is made available? I think you have some maybe response to that, Laura, but to what extent is the corporate Hoshin made available to the lower levels of the organization? Are they made aware of the main strategies or challenges? And yeah.
I think as Edgar highlighted, there was a lot of effort being done in terms of communicating, cascading and communicating. In fact, as much as possible, anytime the corporate Hoshin was cascaded at the functional level, Edgar purposely involved people in the lower ranks to get their input, but also to facilitate the further communication of that strategy downstream. So I don't know if Edgar has some specific examples, but certainly the awareness of the company strategy and how on a day-to-day basis everyone can participate and contribute was one of the key things that allowed them to move forward faster.
We are very we try to be very clear in terms of our strategy and to share it with all of our staff, including the shop floor employees. And we have nothing to hide here. We when you try to buy something or you have an NDA, of course you cannot let all of the people know. But when you say that you wanted to be the leader in the market, you wanted to reduce cost, you wanted to, etc. I think you have to communicate it. And how? Well, every instance we had, we tried to share it, and something which was really important is that we organized a lot of meetings with the unions, because at the very beginning they were very reluctant to this process, but at the end they wanted to have the meetings because they realized that now or in the process they were having more information about where we wanted to be.
Thank you. Okay, I think we have time for one more question, guys. And it's a good one. I think you did a lot of explanation on A3s, both of you. So the question is, how many strategy A3s were developed from every corporate Hoshin? And if it's only one, what's the difference between the corporate Hoshin and the strategy A3?
So I'll start. There were 6 strategy A3s, one for each strategy. The difference is that in the corporate Hoshin, you would have a challenge, right? As you saw, Edgar showed an example around strategy number 2. Excellence had 3 challenges, and those challenges were further refined into activities and so forth. The strategy A3 for the excellence strategic priority becomes sort of distilling all of these challenges into what is the problem we're trying to solve. And it's a different view, it's a different look at things. And it's very much about problem solving now, and practicing the A3 process at the executive level so that, those same people can interact with lower levels of the organization, working on operational A3s, having had the experience of the A3 process themselves.
Yes, and just to give you some details, Laura and all of you, um, today we have more than 50 A3 initiatives in our plants. And here the idea is to solve with root cause analysis. We are focused on process improvement and cost reduction in this for in the last 6 months. And this is really important because you have more than 50, and this means that if you have 2,000 employees, there are a lot of people who are involved in these A3s. And it is not only the A3s. We, in terms of lean practices, today we have already implemented in all of our plants the daily management routine. And this was really, really important because now we started the day in a different way. We have more than 87 change agents, which means that we have here leaders or influencers who have who have some lean competence, who are sharing these competences with their the other employees. And we organized every month one lean webinar with this, and here all of the companies invited, and we have more than 200 participants each month. And what we do here is to share experience, to show the A3 initiatives, and also to try to create synergies between the different plants in the world.
Okay, thank you very much. We are at the top of the hour. I want to thank everybody who joined today. We had a great participation, a lot of great questions, and I want to thank you, Laura and Edgar, for your enlightening presentation. And we hope you'll join us online at lean.org for future LEI learning events. On behalf of our presenters and everyone here at LEI, we wish you continued success in your journey. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Laura and Mark.
Thank you, Edgar, for coming and sharing the Molimet story.
Thanks, everybody.
You're welcome. Thank you.